Okay. Okay, so my first question for you is that you've served a number of terms in the North Carolina State Assembly. So tell me about your decision to run for a seat in the U.S. Congress. When did you first think about it and what motivated you?
Yes, thank you. And let me say, I've been honored to serve the state 12 years actually, 6 terms in the North Carolina House. And I decided last April to not run for my House seat, not run for re-election. And the reason I decided to do that is because I am concerned, like many citizens here in southeastern North Carolina and across the country, as a matter of fact, concerned about the direction that our democracy is headed, protecting human rights, human dignity, standing up against hatred and bigotry. And when I witnessed the insurrection in Washington, soon after that time, I gave it very, very deep thought and consideration and decided to run for Congress, to be a voice of reason, to be a voice against hatred. If you saw my rollout in October, that was what my rollout was about, a lot of emphasis on. We've got to work together as communities. We've got to work together to be united, to beat back hatred and bigotry. And that's one of the things that really motivated me to run for Congress. And here we are, 3 weeks out, and I'm very excited about our campaign and the direction it's headed, and looking forward to going to Congress to represent the citizens here in southeastern North Carolina.
Great, thank you. Yeah. So we were just watching for, I don't know how many times, your introduction with the Hayes Pond. That was just fascinating and very moving. So thank you for doing that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, when you're out meeting with voters and potential voters, what would you say are the major questions that you get? Are there different concerns that arise in different parts of the congressional district that you have noted?
Well, I'll just generally say that, especially because my opponent lives in New Hanover County. When I visit New Hanover County and Brunswick County in particular, Pender County, folks really have not seen their representative. And he lives in the general area. And what I'm hearing from them, a lot of comments about he doesn't come around. He's not engaging himself in the community. He's not interacting with the constituents that he supposed to represent in Washington. And that is the big, one of the big takeaways from visiting in that area, that they know who their congressman is, but they never see him. He's never been engaged in and does not engage in town hall type meetings and forums. And the consensus I get from the folks in that area is we want a congressman that will interact with us, a congressman that will be visible and be available in the community for a variety of things. And of course, obviously he's not, based on the feedback I'm getting from folks down in that area, that they know who their congressman is, but he's just not a person that they get to see a lot and get to engage with.
Okay.
So if you don't see the guy, he's not going to talk to you about the issues, and he's not going to talk to you about his votes and his stance on particular issues down there that's very important to folks in those counties.
Okay, well, when you compare the 7th congressional district to your state house district, other than it being geographically larger with many more residents, in what other ways have you found it different, affecting being a representative?
Well, for the most part, the 7th congressional district is a rural district. When we look at my county, Robinson, Columbus, Bladen, and the portion of Cumberland County, all that is rural communities. Pender County has a lot of rural features, Brunswick County as well. So for the most part, it is a rural district. Now, my service in the state has been to represent my county, Robinson County. I understand the needs of the rural communities in my county: affordable health care, quality schools, quality education, opportunities, especially in southeastern North Carolina in the Lumber River Basin, and also in the Cape Fear region, is to have drinking water that's not poisoned by Comores, and that is a big concern throughout this district. Even over in Bladen County, that's a big concern. Also, let me say that the number one economy in my county is farming. Same thing in Columbus, same thing in Bladen. Those communities want to know that they'll have a voice in Washington that will stand up for farmers. In your area, in Brunswick and New Hanover County, of course, they're concerned about beach renourishment. They're concerned about being able to have sustainable and energy. And that means we want to have wind and solar energy available and accessible, which my opponent in this election his support comes from big corporations, from the oil industry. And we know one of the things that's driving this economy is high gas prices. So we need to really look at alternative sources of energy. I'd like the idea that in the Inflation Reduction Act, we're going to give people an opportunity to give tax credits to weatherize their homes, solar panels, an opportunity if they can afford to buy electric vehicles, a tax credit for all sorts of energy savings and inflation reducing policies. So, throughout the district, there's every county somewhat has different issues. And I'm trying to, as a representative, that's what I've done throughout my career, is listen to those individuals in the community, visit the communities, be available, engage, and try to present myself in a way that they can say, well, I know who my representative is and I know what he stands for. And we think we have a voice, and we know we have a voice in Raleigh.
Okay, thank you. In your League of Women Voters Vote 411 response, you stated, quote, as a legislator, I do not play politics. I study, I listen, and I vote my conscience. I have always believed in civility and human dignity, unquote. Can you expand on that statement as a potential member of the U.S. Congress?
Well, human dignity means a lot. Human dignity means we're going to respect and support personal liberties. I'm going to respect and what I mean. Let me rephrase that. I'm going to be against any policies that are discriminatory, that will not look at all of us as human beings and in terms of what we bring, our worth, our value to our communities, whether it's the LGBTQ community, whether it's the African American community, whether it's the Latino community, and in my county, the American Indian community. So I'm going to look at people of color, people of different sexual orientations, protecting women's right to choose what to do with their body, protect and support personal liberties, what we do in our homes, and keep the government out of our business in terms of our individual privacy and our rights as human beings, and respecting our cultures and most certainly respecting our identity and those things that we take a lot of pride in. So in my county, of course, I live in a predominantly tri-racial county, and we have a large Hispanic population in my county. So I'm proud of those cultures. I'm proud to be a representative standing up in Raleigh for a county such as mine, and diverse as mine, and standing up for those human rights. And that was one of the things that I emphasized in my rollout was human rights and human dignity. We have to respect that. We have to push back against bigotry and hatred. And to be honest with you, right now, there's, hate is all around us. It's in our communities. It's in our neighborhoods, and our democracy cannot thrive. Our communities cannot thrive with hatred all around us and folks trying to undermine our democracy and undermine our human rights. And as a candidate, as a congressman, I will not stand and I will not yield to those policies.
Great, thank you. This next question builds on what you've just said. The League of Women Voters is very concerned with voter participation, education, and advocacy. What do you say to people who shout fraud, who discourage people from voting and challenging voter results and going to the polls and intimidating voters? What do you say to them or to the voters to encourage them?
Well, in general, what I want to say is our democracy is at stake. Our voting rights are at stake. The John Lewis Voting Rights Act should be codified. Every person in this country, here, especially in southeastern North Carolina, should be able to go to the polling place, should be able to, without any kind of coercion, without any kind of intimidation, have a opportunity to express their voice through their vote. So on the agenda, and as a part of the, I would say as a part of the I want to make sure I phrase this right. There's an opportunity here if people will go out and vote and express their voice obviously in the booth. It's an opportunity for folks to repeal the big lie. And you've heard that. Folks throughout this area has heard that. But there are a lot of people, unfortunately, that believes the big lie, that our democracy, the elections were stolen in 2020. And I believe in fair and free elections, and we do everything I can to support in the Congress the ability for people to have an opportunity to go cast their vote and have every vote counted. And that's part of what's on the ballot, as far as I'm concerned, repealing the big lie.
Oh, I was out doing voter outreach at an event last weekend and ran into a young person who absolutely refused to register to vote. He said he doesn't vote, doesn't mean anything. Help me think of ways to try to convince this person that he's wrong.
Well, I've ran into that numerous times as I go around and talk to people on an individual basis and introduce myself to them. And, you know, their attitude is, and I've heard people say, well, my vote's not going to count. What good's it going to do the vote? And my response to them is, your voice is your vote. If you don't vote, you have no voice. You don't have an opportunity. It does not give you an opportunity to criticize and find fault in whatever you believe in or don't believe in. So if you vote, you've expressed your opinion about the things that you value. I said, if you vote for Charles Graham, you value what I stand for. If you vote for someone else, you value what they stand for. But you know, that's very difficult when you're talking to people and asking for their support. But one of the things that I've tried to do throughout my service in the General Assembly is, when I ask people for the vote, I don't want to thank them, this is the first time I've ever seen you, or this is the first time I've ever heard from you. I think that's very important. As I go around my district, I try to connect with families, connect with business owners, connect with educators, connect with, you know, everyday people in a way that they can say, well, oh, I know Charles Graham, I've talked to him. So it's very important that we as politicians, as elected officials, get out and let people know who we are. And when we go around the second time, third time, fourth time, or however many times that may be, they can say, oh yes, I know you, and I know what you stood up for, and I know what you've done for our community. So that's important. But you're right, there's a lot of folks that say, I'm not voting, I'm not registering, it does no good. And I have experienced that on a number of occasions, and I just try to explain to them what their voice means and what a vote really means when you cast that vote. And that's all we can do. But there is a lot of voter apathy out there.
Oh, thank you. That will help me when I go out. I'll think about what you've been saying. To move on, in addition to voter advocacy, the League of Women Voters of the Lower Cape Fear has an environmental action team. We have an education action team and a women's issues advocacy team. Just take one of these issue areas and tell us about your legislative priorities in that area. Do you want me to
Well,
repeat 3 areas?
well, let me talk about the women's issue thing.
Okay, fine,
Um,
great.
I believe that we should, and as a congressman, I will treat women equal in terms of housing, in terms of equal pay, in terms of protecting their reproductive rights, in terms of being able to, and I will support the ERA and support policies that will give all women equal footing to be everything they can be in our country. And I believe that discriminatory practices in terms of bringing forth policies that will give all women equal opportunity in this country. In terms of environmental, I think that was one of the questions, right?
Right.
Environmental, we need to really push to protect our Cape Fear region. We need to push back on corporate greed in terms of Comores and hold them accountable for polluting our drinking water, polluting our streams, and not allow them to expand their operations until they have completely 100% demonstrated that they're going to be a good corporate partner, and that is keeping our environment clean, keeping our streams and rivers clean. And when they have satisfied that they are going to do that, then of course, complying with the DEQ here in North Carolina, we want jobs, we want opportunity to come for our people, but we want clean jobs. We want responsible corporate industry coming to our communities. And I support holding them accountable 100% and not allowing them to expand without accountability. In any industry, not just them, but any industry, dirty jobs come into the community unless they have satisfied us that they will comply with quality issues as it relates to our air and our water.
Great, thank you. Okay, finally then, there are many public policy issues that are important to be addressed that we have not spoken about or covered in this interview. But is there something important to your campaign that you have not had the opportunity to address either here or more generally that you would want our readers to know about or our watchers to know about?
Yeah, well, as I said, there's many things on the ballot. Of course, at a federal level, affordable housing. And I have traveled throughout the district extensively, and I've talked to folks in New Hanover County and Pender County, and here especially in my home county, Columbus County and Bladen County, about bringing developers to the table and having a discussion about using tax credits to build affordable housing. And we've got folks who work and they're making a reasonable and a decent living, but they just cannot afford high rent. So these individuals need to be able to live where they work and have an affordable housing opportunity close to where they work. And that can be done if we bring developers to the table using tax credits at the state and national level to get these things accomplished. So affordable housing has been on my radar for some time, especially since we had the Florence and Matthew. We've got folks who have left my county. We've got folks who are living with their, family, who are waiting for the opportunity to have somewhere to live, to call home, that's clean and safe, a safe neighborhood that they can call home, that's affordable. So that's important to me, and it's been important to me and as a state legislator for a number of years to make sure that we're working and giving folks an opportunity with their families, having children grow up in a home with their mother and father or with their mother, and having an environment they're happy with and happy to live in.
Great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. As I said, we will be putting this up on our YouTube channel and our Facebook and broadly broadcasting it. But before we go, is there anything else that you really want to say to League of Women Voters and the public in general? Have the opportunity right now.
Well, let me just say, sending Charles Graham to Congress will ensure to the people here in southeastern North Carolina that the families and business people, educators, all walks of life will have someone in Congress that will they can relate to. They'll be able to interact with. They'll be able to engage, and someone who will be, and I call myself a Main Street congressman, someone who will be out and about in the communities, town hall meetings, to allow my constituents in southeastern North Carolina an opportunity to know their congressman, to know what he stands for, to know and understand what he's doing in Congress, to update the citizens in this district, and be a voice. And that's what I've done, and that's what I intend to do as a congressman. And I hope families and individuals will get out, know the importance of this vote, which begins actually this coming week, October 20th. And the final vote will be November 8th. And take friends out to vote. Take family members, neighbors, your close friends, people that you trust and confide in to go to the ballot box. And that's very important because there's a lot at stake in this election. I can't imagine, in terms of things we just talked about, what will happen if we have a GOP that's in control of both houses in Congress. And there's a lot, as I said earlier, there's a lot at stake, and we just need people to get out and vote, get energized, really look at the issues, and go express their, let their voices be heard, and that's through their vote and the ballot box.
Well, thank you. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate it. Appreciate your willingness to talk to the public and get out there and give the League of Women Voters the opportunity to let the voters know about candidates. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Okay. Goodbye.
Goodbye.